Is it possible to program yourself for success? Keep watching. This is Life Mastery Gym. I'm Damon, and I teach people just like you cutting-edge NLP processes and techniques so that you can master your life and take charge of your destiny. So if that sounds good, make sure you click that subscribe button right down here so you can get these videos on a regular basis. Many people don't actually understand what NLP means, Neuro-Linguistic Programming. Even people who have practiced NLP for a while have trouble explaining it. And this part of the video series that I've been doing, where in the first video I covered the N, the neuro. The second video I covered language, the L. And in this video, I'm going to cover the P, programming. I've been practicing NLP for almost 10 years, and in that time I've cultivated not only my own practice, but a coaching and teaching practice. And even I find it hard sometimes and challenging sometimes to truly get across the meaning of what neuro-linguistic programming is. But by the end of this video, you're going to have a much better understanding, especially if you have watched the other two videos, the N and NLP and the L and NLP. So if you haven't watched those, doesn't mean that you can't continue watching this one, but you'll definitely want to go and watch those other two. Those are linked to this video, and you should find it in a playlist, so it'll make it easy for you to find it. Also, if you'd like to take a free assessment, I will go into explaining more about what that assessment is at the end of the video, but if you're impatient and you want to jump to it, if you go to the description right down below, click on that link, and it will take you to a free assessment. Now, before I get into this, if you have any questions or any comments, I would love to hear from you, and I will respond to you if you type them in the comment section right down below. So the P and NLP, the programming part, what is this about? Well, most people think of computer programming, and also they often will think of NLP, the bad side of NLP, or the part of NLP that scares people, or the part that has the bad reputation. People often think of the programming part as like you're programming other people. And NLP does have that reputation for being extremely influential. If you can learn NLP very well and use it with other people, it's been known to be manipulative. Now, I'm not denying any of those things in the wrong hands, because NLP is a powerful tool. You can influence people strongly and in negative ways, but what I always warn, I've done many videos about this, as the NLP practitioner, if you do that, these things have a way of coming back to you. So we definitely don't want to do that. We don't want to influence anyone to, in any way, only serve our interests without helping that person serve whatever interest or value it is that they want to fulfill. That being said, most of the programming part of NLP is not about programming other people. It's not about, oh, I'm going to make someone robotically serve my desires and my self-interest. Now, like I said, there can be an element of influencing people to do that, but you really can't turn somebody into a robot or a zombie and make people do things such as the myths about hypnosis, how they can sort of like just hypnotize people by saying a certain word, and then suddenly they go on this zombified way of being and just do whatever they're told. Let's set all of that aside. That's mythological and not even realistic at all. The programming aspect of NLP is about thinking. Well, first think about all the things that you do automatically without thinking. You probably drive to work, and you'll get there sometimes and you won't even remember having driven to work because you were thinking about something else or you were doing something else. Driving, in a sense, becomes a program. Now, it certainly wasn't that way when you first started driving. When you first started driving, it probably felt a little overwhelming. You had so many things to do. It felt like you were multitasking. But you do this enough times and then it goes automatic. This is a program. Throughout the course of your life, you have created many programs. And sometimes the programs do become outdated, and we don't realize this because the programs are so unconscious. They will show up as inner conflict, or they might show up as what people call self-sabotage. And it's really not. There's no part of you that's really trying to sabotage you. It's just that it might be an old program that needs to be updated or somehow got disconnected from the rest of you. And it's causing problems now. Just like having an old operating software in your computer as your time passes and there's new apps and there's new computer software programs and updates. If that one piece of software hasn't been updated, it's going to create problems with the new software that you download or the new updates to the other software. So the softwares don't speak to each other so well. The same thing really happens inside of us as well. So what we seek to do in NLP is become aware of these programs. And what you learn in NLP is processes and techniques so that you can learn to take these unconscious programs and make them conscious again. And when you make them conscious again, now you can do something about it. Now you have a choice about it. Now you can make changes. And what NLP offers are these processes and ways of going about processes so that you can do interventions, add resources, make changes, future pace that so that you bring this new understanding, this new program into the future so that it modifies your behavior into the future. And ultimately, the new program or the updates to the program that you create in NLP that modifies your behavior to fulfill some outcome that you want, ideally goes unconscious again. And you want it to be that way because you don't want to have to consciously drive yourself, always consciously working at your behaviors, your new behaviors that are going to get you toward where you want to go or to achieve whatever success you want to achieve. It becomes very difficult if you're always having to consciously think about it. And this is one reason why people have so much trouble sticking to a diet or exercising on a regular basis, because instead of it just being on an automatic program, people are constantly negotiating with themselves every day. Well, do I want to do this or do I not want to do this? Do I really want to go for a run? Do I really want to go to yoga class? Or do I really want to eat, salad, or do I want to go and eat fried chicken? So if you're constantly negotiating with yourself, it's very, very conscious. And so you don't have a set program yet. When you create a program in yourself to modify your behavior, and it goes unconscious, you're not negotiating like that. And your behavior is modified to move toward getting what it is that you want. And so a good example of this is something very simple that most people do every day, twice a day. Don't negotiate with themselves. They don't question it. They just do it. And that's brushing your teeth. And people ask me things like, well, where do you get the willpower to stick to the things that you stick to and succeed at what you've succeeded at? Where does that willpower come from? And I just tell people, do you brush your teeth? Yeah, sure, every single day. It's the same thing. You don't really, you've been doing that for so long, for so many years. How do you summon the willpower and the self-discipline to do that? You don't. It's just a program now. It's a habit that you've created, and you just do it. You don't think about it. You don't negotiate with yourself about it. So when it comes to doing NLP processes and modifying programs and even installing new programs, still some people are a little edgy about this, a little shaky about it. They still feel like, well, if I'm programming myself, that, it kind of freaks me out a little bit. And actually it should, because if it's not well thought out, meaning you don't check in to see if you're actually congruent with the new behavior, you don't check in to find out if this new behavior would be ecological, which means how might these new behaviors affect your relationships, affect the sort of systems around you? When you introduce something new into a system, you want to make sure that there aren't any negative side effects. And sometimes there just will be. Sometimes going after what you want might end certain relationships, which might not have been really good relationships for you anyway, but you want to understand the consequences. You want to understand those things ahead of time, because if you do make a new program and it goes unconscious and then it has negative side effects, you might not even realize it until some damage has been done, meaning missing out on relationships or hurting relationships. You want to consider these things ahead of time. So in creating a new program, you want to get very clear that this new program is not just something that is on the surface, on the surface level, getting what you want. You want to go deeper with it. You want to make sure that it serves your highest values, because a lot of people will do these sort of NLP interventions and they will make deep changes without realizing that it might not ultimately end up where you want it to go. So that is the thing about NLP you want to be careful about, because it is powerful. And if you make changes without realizing some possible negative side effects, it could harm you. And I don't mean harm you like in an irreversible way or like, harm your health. In most cases, that's not something you have to worry about. Just in general, you want to be cautious and you want to make sure that you're very, very clear about whether or not it serves your values. And most of my videos, I go on and on about values because values are powerful. Values are motivational. Values can have many possibilities to fulfill them, so you're not stuck with like one strategy or one way to do something. There are many ways to fulfill your values. So having a program based in, rooted in, connected deeply to your higher values is going to make that program more than likely a nice, clean program that's going to serve your interests, but also not harm other people, because you probably have a value of being kind to other people. And that's a really good value to have, as well as many other values that align with not harming others or destroying anything outside of yourself to serve your own interests. You want to make sure that all your values are being considered, including the ones that do handle that, kindness and thinking of other people, empathy and compassion, as well as those values of your own passion, your ambition, your drive to accomplish what it is that you want. All those things are important. When you bring them all together, they're very powerful, very motivating, and then you build a program around those deeper values. So there's no need to be afraid of the programming part. You do want to be cautious about the programming part in NLP. You want to make sure that you're working with somebody who knows what they're doing, or that you feel very confident that you know what you're doing because you've gotten a lot of practice in. And like I said, take it really deep with your values, build programs around those values, make sure you use congruence for yourself, which is where your values really come in, and then also ecology. How might this affect the world around you when you make these changes and you make these new programs? And like I said, ultimately, the idea is for the program to go unconscious again, so you don't have to think about doing these things all the time. They become unconscious, they become habitual, and it just makes it so much easier. And you do enough of these around creating healthy behaviors that help you, that move you toward the outcomes that you want. And pretty soon you're there and you don't even have to think about it, and it doesn't take willpower and it doesn't take discipline. Like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, if you would like to take a free assessment where you can have those values elicited, find out what's really important to you and what area of life would you like to work on now and get you moving in that direction. If you go down to the description below, you will find the link. Click that link and you can take that free assessment and get the results. If you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. And if you have not already, make sure you click that subscribe button and click the bell so that you can get these videos on a regular basis. And last but not least, if you can think of a friend or a family member who would benefit from this video, make sure you share it with them. Take care.